to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, July 11th. If everyone would rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let the record show we have all members present except for Tammy West and Tracy Rankin. First order of business, this is our organizational meeting for the year, and we need to elect a president and a vice president. When Tammy told me that she was not going to be able to make it to the meeting, she said that she would be willing to serve as vice president if no one else wanted the position.
I'll make a motion. Lisa Killian is president.
Second.
Well, they jumped on that one. We already got it opposed.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeff, and I think Brian was fastest with the second, so we'll give that to him. All in favor? 4, and I guess abstain, I guess, or I don't know. Okay, 5-0. All right, Vice President?
I almost got Tammy nominated during the but that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay,
I moved Tammy West as vice president.
okay. Motion by Barbara and second by Ryan, all in favor? 5-0. Okay, and next up, we have the adoption of the agenda. We have the supplemental personnel report in our folders. And then, is this where we say about the minutes that, or what is that?
We just have corrected copies of the minutes in your folders. We had some
Typos.
auto-correct unique names, let's put it that way.
Okay. So we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ryan and a second by Jeff. All in favor? 5-0. And approval of bills. Did Tammy come in?
So we did get an email today from the business office that she did come in and went through the bills and got all her questions answered and would recommend approval.
Okay. So,
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
In her absence.
all right.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Brian. All in favor? 5-0. All right, we will start the Stuco reports at our September meeting, first September meeting. Recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. So if you'd like to approach the podium, you may do so now. Seeing no one, we'll move right ahead. Next up, we have the consent agenda. That includes the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, approval of the June 27th board minutes, approval of site council annual reports for 2015-16, approval of the fiber lease agreement, approval of the 2016-17 nutrition handbook, approval of contracts with Language and Literacy Consulting Incorporated.
What's Odyssey Wear training?
Odyssey Wear is the substitute that we are using in lieu. It's the software for the alternative education program, and we approved that and shifted over in place of Edgenuity earlier this summer. And so the training is for the staff members, the administrators, the teachers. They're going through how to load kids, how to schedule them, how to monitor their progress, make adjustments to lessons, that kind of thing is what they're learning right now.
Okay.
It's the one we saved, was it $60,000 by going to?
Okay. Just curious, I sending Mike Gillott to Odyssey Wear scared the heck out of me for some reason. I'd make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Jeff and a second by Brian. All in favor? 5-0. Okay, new business, curriculum and instruction. Looks like Tammy Nedler and Glenn Fortmeyer. Or is Ray?
Nope, we're going to do the new teacher institute first.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Cunningham. If you would like to join us as you follow along, we are on pages 66 through 78, the agendas for the new Teacher Institute. You will see that it's broken down in elementary, middle school, and high school. It is a continuing program that we do for each of our new teachers every year, and the agenda is very similar to last year. You'll notice on Wednesday, August 10th at 10:30, Superintendent Cunningham will start introductions to be followed. Hopefully, President Lisa Billion will be doing a introduction from the board, but you are all welcome to come. I would love to see you there that day. The only adjustments that we've really made to the agenda, there won't be a luncheon meeting by the association. They have decided to kind of be available all day and do snacks, that type of thing, versus doing a luncheon. And we've given principals a little bit more time in their buildings to do some staff development about building initiatives. So they will be able to address some of the building level activities that they're doing with their teachers that are not district level, which we do at the TLC or the high school or at Dodge City Middle School this year. But they are together for large portions of the day, each day over to 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then there is a follow-up that they do on fourth day later on in the school year. But the training for the new teachers is a basic of everything that goes on in our district. We do get them logged in with technology. They get their iPads set up, that type of thing. It's to gear up for the first day of school, and it's to make sure they feel prepared. They've been introduced to their mentors. They have some time with their mentors. They understand the mentoring process. We've inserted a little time for us this year to have some Q&A and get to know each of the teachers on a first-hand basis, the new ones. So we're looking forward for that opportunity just to have a conversation with them. Anything you want to add?
No, I think just the biggest thing, and just to kind of repeat, focus in on a lot of the curriculum that we have and help them to understand what the basics are, where to go to, who to ask, those types of things. And then Bright Beginnings does similar to the elementary, but they'll pull back when it's very specific to curriculum so that they can focus on theirs as well. So.
The only other things to mention is that special ed teachers that are new to our district will also, even though they're 613 employees, they will be attending to learn our district systems. And we also have invited the student teachers from each of the universities. They may come, but we did make it clear that if they get a job with us officially after their student teaching, they will be required to go through the process, because that's part of also the mentoring commitment to the state for their licensing that we have to do with them. But almost all of the student teachers want to participate and get as much training as they can. So we have a strong attendance roster of student teachers already set up.
Good deal.
Thank you all very much.
Yep, thank you.
Very good.
Okay. Now it's Ray.
Good evening, board members, board president, Mr. Cunningham. On page 79 this evening, I'm bringing before you as a annual agenda item that talks about reimbursement for internet services, and for the board members, a reimbursement option. If you look at the considerations, that explains that you were provided an iPad, computer, and it belongs to the USD 443. It talks about the policies involved at the end. And the main thing that we are asking this evening is the financial consideration. It allows $30 a month for you to collect at the end of the school year. That's now, right, Mr. Cunningham? That you can collect that $30 from Mr. Cunningham office? Mr. Cunningham's office. Well, he's going to retire anyway, so. Anyway, you can, it seems like a pretty fair amount when we looked at basic Cox is $39 a month. This is $30 a month that you're allowed to use. As you know, you need to sync your iPads, and it's for email. Hopefully you're set up good with all that, so we're asking for your approval. Any questions?
We do have a board policy that talks about board has to approve any expenditures on the board's behalf, so that's why it's brought to you every year.
Yeah,
Okay, we have a motion by Ryan, right?
thank you, Alan. Yes.
Second.
And a second by Barbara. All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. All right, Bill, we have business services next.
I don't know if Bill has anything to do these days.
Just sitting in his office.
You didn't hear that, so that's good.
Okay, Ray's a tough act to follow this evening. I got that one.
No, that, I just said I didn't know if you had anything to do these days. Thank you.
Stay calm, Bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Cunningham. First item on the agenda is an update on Demon Field restroom renovations. I was hoping to have all the numbers tonight to give you a full update on this, but I did receive some today, but we're still waiting for some other information. As I indicated in last meeting, when we put the estimate together, we really just put the estimate together for the new restroom facility, and that was $250,000, as I remember. We did not include the additional site work, and as you know, at Demon Field right now, if you have somebody in a wheelchair, and let's just be candid, it's a grandmother or somebody who has a physical disability, it's almost impossible to get them to the seating area. So the site work to take care of the sidewalks and everything, so we'd have handicapped accessibility up to the level of the bleachers is $48,000, and we kind of plan to take that out. The district's kind of told us to spend about $500,000 a year on sidewalks, streets, and so forth, and that's kind of what we plan to do on that. The concession, when we first started looking at this, we really weren't planning to redo the concession stand, but as we got into the project, it was felt that that would be a wise decision to do, because we also need a place for the umpires to dress out and so forth, and so that came in at $30,000. Which leaves really the new toilets are $313,000, which is still above the $250,000. So we're waiting for a number to find out by removing the doors that would be more storm protected and removing the concrete roof top over this facility going to a wood roof, how much that would save. And I just don't have those numbers yet, but as soon as we do, we'll give that to the board. So we really weren't asking for any action tonight. This is more of an update, but that's kind of where we're trying to move. And if the board has any discussion or if there's any questions, please feel free to contact me in my office. So that's what we're up to.
All right.
Any questions on that?
So the restrooms will be storm protected then? Is that still the plan?
The board kind of at the last meeting gave me directions to try to figure out ways to reduce the cost of the project. And so that was one way is we looked at a possibility of really downgrading the restrooms, and I say downgrading, going something other than a brick interior on that, more of a sheetrock or something like that. And I'll be honest, Chris and I sat down and kind of looked at that, and we said, we might save some dollars today, but when those are open, there's really no supervision on it. We determined we really want concrete block in the inside of those. So the places we think we can save money would be to remove the concrete roof and the storm-protected doors, and we still need heavy-duty doors. I just don't know how much it's going to save to do that. But Ryan, the reason, and I kind of want to be clear, we kind of went on our own on this, and I apologize, but it was kind of with the emphasis the board had given us during the bond issue of storm protection and so forth. We just felt like if we're going to build something, maybe that made sense. But we heard last time from the board, maybe the board wanted a little different direction on that, or at least wanted some numbers. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. And candidly, anytime you talk about plumbing, you just Yeah, we had some other numbers this week that almost caused me to sit down a couple times, so.
Thanks, Bill.
Again, we'll try to bring that back, and you all can tell us what we're going to do, and we'll be happy to go forward with it.
We're asking to break it out into the concrete site work, the remodel of current restrooms to make it on-purpose facilities, and then a couple options on the new restrooms. So that way you can pick and choose from the menu what parts you want to do.
Okay, sounds good.
Next item here is basically budget and revenue assumptions, including published budget. I always enjoy doing this before that we even get the budget documents from the state, so we can kind of put them in and make sure we've got everything right. We will be attending a KSDE budget workshop on July 15th, but basically what we're anticipating doing is we will prepare the budget anticipating that we will not increase the local mill levy. That's been the direction of the board since the bond issue, so that's our intent. We do, I guess I'll just say thankfully for the Supreme Court, that final settlement will help us because we will get some more LOB equalization money as a result of that settlement, and that will really help us try to keep the mill levy right there where we need it to be. So there's just some information, and that's what we're working on. So as we have more information, we'll sure share that with the board, but that's kind of where we are today. Any questions on that or the direction we're going? The board has approved a raise for all of our employees, so we're working with that in the budget. We're taking a look at costs like insurance, workman's comp, and all those things, trying to include those in the budget, pretty much holding the line on everything else.
We are asking you to go ahead and approve a preliminary budget with this, the assumption of no tax increase, no mill levy increases, simply because we have to have it published like on August something in our board meeting. We have to have it in the newspaper before it becomes effect and before you approve it. And August, I think it's August 8th board meeting is really cutting it close to wait to the last minute to do that. So if you would allow us to do so, we'd like to go ahead and publish a proposed budget with reflecting no mill levy increase. Okay.
Bill, did the county clerk give you any indication of how much the assessment's down?
The assessment's down about $1 million from what we can see, and it's over 200, so that's, I would have been a lot more concerned if we hadn't had the additional money on the LOB equalization, but thankfully with the Supreme Court and the legislature stepping up on that, that's going to help because that's about $1.5 million to $1.75 million. So we were concerned that we'd probably have to cut capital outlay or something else in order to balance the budget. This may allow us not to have to do that. So, but it's about $1 million down, and Alan asked me, why is it down? And there was some other thing.
I was told this morning the county's up.
Pardon?
I was told this morning that the county is up, just the city of Dodge is
Yeah,
down.
all the construction in town's been public construction.
Yeah.
Water park, schools, everything's public construction. There's not much private, large private construction. We keep buying houses.
Okay, this is an action item on the approval of budget and revenue assumptions.
I would make a motion to approve the budget and revenue assumptions, including the published budget.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Jeff and a second by Ryan. All in favor? 5-0.
The next item is one that we come with each year. The board basically directed us a couple of years ago as we started the iPad initiative. We have been budgeting money each year. We've purchased some iPads out of that, done some other things. And there is a complete list in your book about that. But I've also passed out which I think I walked away without doing it. Maybe I can borrow Glenn's iPad. Yeah, that. Last thing that they published did not include the last 3 columns. So basically this year, what we have on this is after we transfer the money from this year, and the transfer will be $681,546.07, we'll end up with basically a balance in the contingency reserve that has been board designated $2.4 million, basically $2,447,050.29. So what the board had designated us to do was put money away so when it's time to change out the iPads, we have some money in the bank to start that process and get it going. So that's what that's there for. As a board designated amount, you can change that at any time. If you chose to come in next week and our next meeting and do something different, you can. But the administration is, fulfilling what you directed us to do. So basically, the staff recommendation is to approve the transfer of $681,546.07 to the contingency reserve fund designated for iPad replacement. Any questions?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Brian and a second by Ryan. All in favor? 5-0.
Okay. The next item, we have been mightily, I want to commend my staff. Always at the end of the year, as you, those of you who own businesses and work with businesses know, it's always a challenge getting everything closed out at the end of the year. And our challenge is even somewhat heightened because the state basically doesn't give us all of our money till last year, till after the 1st of July this year. So we did finish, really, minutes before we came to this meeting, our unencumbered cash balances as of July 1, 2016. And what you'll notice is in the general fund, we still have a negative because we haven't received the final payment from the state. So while there is a negative in the general fund, there are a number of funds that do have money. I might mention capital outlay might be considered somewhat misleading in this because the board has basically authorized the expenditure out of capital outlay. As you remember when we approved the 4-section school at Central, and there were some other things that we added to the bond issue. So there's about 2.7 million of that that's already been spent. We haven't encumbered the money because we normally don't encumber the money until we actually have a contract against which to encumber it. Well, we still haven't received the total GMP from Hutton, so the money is sitting in capital outlay. But if you look at that, there's probably about $3 million of that the board's already effectively spent. We just don't have it encumbered until we get contracts to write those
Also
things
where the
against.
iPad money is, correct?
No, the iPad money is in contingency reserve.
Contingency reserve, okay.
Yes. And so that's the other thing. If you look at line 53 on this contingency reserve fund, really to see what we have that has not been board designated, you'd have to take the amount from the IFAD fund off that, and that's what's remaining there.
Bill, I've heard you referred to the Gifts and Grants Fund several times. That's a pretty good number in there. What's involved in that?
Gifts and grants, what we do is we kind of have a holding fund. What we've done is we had some money originally from one of the beef companies we got a gift in lieu of. And I'm going to make a comment here. All dollars in a district are not created equal. Because there's certain things I can do with gifts and grants that I can't do with general fund and I can't do with LOB money.
Okay.
For example, you can take money from a gifts and grants fund and you could actually transfer it into your bond and interest fund and make payments out of it. There's a school district or two in the state now who have gotten an agreement with their city or their county where they're actually doing sales tax to pay off part of the bonds that they've passed. So the money kind of goes through the gifts and grants funds into the, into your bond and interest fund, and it's legal to do it. I can't take money legally out of general fund or some of the other funds and use it in to pay bond and interest. So it's kind of a blessed fund. The thing that we have been able to do here, we've had people, for example, on our scoreboards, they're really willing to happy to sponsor, but they don't want to pay the full amount up front. So by the fact that we have a balance available, we can say, hey, we'll go ahead and buy the scoreboard, and we're happy for you to pay that off over 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. And that's worked very well. We really haven't had any problems with that. So that's worked on a couple different scoreboards and some other activities that way. We're also getting some wind farm money, and so that's been going into the Gifts and Grants Fund. And if you want to at some point, I'll be happy to break all that out. Some of it is designated. In other words, there's certain things that can be used for, some of it's not. So again, this is just the total.
We had, if you remember, a year or two ago, we had an estate, a portion of an estate given to Dodge City High School, and the board at that time agreed to use that fund to support the Alumni Association and some of their activities like the Ring of Honor and some of that. And so even though it's one fund on this piece of paper, there are several different funds within that fund. Some of them are designated and can't be used for anything else, and some of them are available to be used for other projects.
That's correct. So,
Very good. Thank you.
any other question?
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Hey, I'm going to go sit down then.
All right.
By the way, we have to publish, as of last year's legislation, a year ago, we have to publish an unencumbered cash balance at the beginning of each month on our website and send a copy into KASB, just so that everybody will know the money we're all, quote, sitting on and not spending. But if you ask, we have a really good reason for having some of those monies. For instance, the projects for capital outlay or the iPad replacement fund. If you ask, the parts that look like a lot of money really have a reason for being there.
And one of the realities that we've dealt with, there's been some years the state has been late on more payments than they were on time on.
Right.
So you really do need to have a cash balance to take care of those things. And I think right now, the reason that some of the general funds in the negative is we're still waiting for money for last year. It used to be when you got money in July, it was to start the year off as a school district. Now you're trying to finish out the last year and make sure you have money for all your expenditures.
That general fund negative will be a zero by the time it all comes out, right?
Yes.
By the time we get the additional funds.
Just one more thing. You said the iPad money comes out of which fund?
Contingency reserve,
Contingency reserve.
yes.
Okay, how do we determine now with the iPads and everything, what amount goes into the textbook and to the material fund? I mean, how's that determination?
Yeah, to
made?
follow up on that, Jeff, I was going to actually ask to go along with that, if there's a way for us to know or determine how much money we have saved in regards to textbooks. Are we still ordering the same amount? Are we spending less on textbooks? Has some of that been?
Bill and I actually had this
replaced by the
conversation
iPad?
earlier today. We have not ordered bulk textbooks, like a whole set of 500 fourth grade anything, in what, 3 years? I believe it's been, Judy could tell us better than I can. But we have not added any more money to the textbook account as at this point because we're not spending that much money out of it. What I did tell Bill today is we've been charging the apps we've been purchasing for the kids on their iPads back to the iPad account. Well, technically, those apps are now taking the place of the textbooks that we used to have. So we actually what did you tell me? We spent less on textbooks from the textbook account this year than what we took in student fees. And that's the first time that's ever happened. So we spent about 200,000, less than 200,000, and because we took in a little over 200,000 in fees. So we're significantly less textbooks, print materials, significantly less print materials are being purchased than they have been in the past.
We asked for this last year, but I would really like to know, going into the third year with iPads, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know from a secondary and an elementary level, how we're growing in using those, the iPads. Because, I mean, what are we doing year 3 we didn't do in year 1, year 2?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Just at some point in time.
We've got a couple of really good instructional coaches that are focusing on technology that could come
Right.
in and talk to us about that. Okay?
So I would love to hear that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Bill.
Bill.
Okay, we're ready for me, I think.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it is the season for Board of Education policy updates from KASB Legal Department. We'll look at them this month, give you the month to look through them, and then we'll ask for your approval at the August Board of Education meeting. Go down to the first page on the table. There you go. You all have these in your board booklets. What I just want to go through with you real quick is the administrative cabinet's been through them at least twice right now. And so we have our own recommendations. Again, you're not acting tonight, but just for peace of mind. The first couple pages is a letter from the KASB Legal Department. The next several pages is a Cliff Notes version of the policy changes, why they were changed, and whether or not it's required that you adopt the change or whether it's optional for you. The first one has to do, it's just retitled a policy. It used to be called, I believe, summer school, but we extended the school year a lot of ways besides just summer school, so they've changed that and are using that same term throughout. Really innocuous. We recommend you adopt it. On requisitions, excuse me, that's all right.
So from summer school to extended school year?
Extend school year and learning opportunities. And we
Is that
pay.
a politically correct
I
term
don't
that I
know.
don't?
I don't know. Lawyers have to earn their keep.
Okay.
Sorry, Brad. Caught him sleeping back there.
You're getting banged for something you didn't even
Do not
do.
apologize to Brad.
Okay. The second one there is just that the KSB's been trying to have gender-neutral policies for years. They found a him in one of the policies, so they changed it. That's the only thing on the second one. The third one has to do with a new law passed this last year. If we have a memorandum of understanding with our local police department about how we will report students at school who have maybe violated the law, then you can abide by your memorandum of understanding and not necessarily by the statute. Based upon where we are right now, we have a pretty good working agreement with our school resource officers and Dodge City Police Department, and we'd like to keep it that way. So this doesn't change how we operate. It just gives us the option of operating under an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, rather than statute. The next one on funerals, memorials, and naming of district facilities, that's all been grouped into one policy now. When they sent it out, the policy was pretty blunt in saying you can't use school facilities in the event somebody needs to have a large funeral. I talked to the attorneys there and I said, school facilities are a lot of things besides just school buildings. And the policy addressed school facilities. So I suggested to them some revised language that we've recommended to you. So you will see in this one a couple different colors. The red is the KASB revisions, and another color, I believe blue or green, I don't remember which, is recommended changes from us, which would allow any of our facilities to be used for a funeral except during the time of facilities being used for student attendance. So that way, we have auditoriums, we have civic centers, we have gyms, we have other things. And a lot of smaller districts, I understand, they really don't want to tie up a school in the event of some famous person in the community needing a funeral and needing a large crowd. But for us, that really wouldn't be a big deal. We can make accommodations if we needed to. I don't know that we've been asked. I actually don't remember a case at any point in time in the last 40 years that we've been asked, but not saying it couldn't happen. And the way the policy's been rewritten by us would allow us to use it any of our facilities unless it's currently being used or in session being used for students. The next one on ESI really is just reflect changes in legislation. It's pretty much required. Student-staff relations. Previously, this policy dealt with prohibiting those relationships of a sexual nature. This policy's been rewritten to reflect current court cases to look at not only of a sexual nature, but also of a romantic nature, not necessarily just sexual nature. The next policy, and you'll see it about two different places in here. This one has to do with staff, and there's one very similar for students. It prohibits the use of e-cigs, e-cigarettes, those kinds of things, pipes, personal vapes, any of those new devices for inhaling nicotine. It does specifically prohibit the use of anything that will result in nicotine being inhaled. So it's not going to deal with things like patches and gums and those kinds of things. This one talks about students. There's one under the section J talking about staff. So it's just for inhalable nicotine. It extends the definition beyond cigarettes. Family Medical Leave Act just clarifies something about if you have spouses both working for the school district, how much time they can use. It's been our practice, I believe, before to do it this way anyway. The next one on GBRE on additional duties just talks about the fact that additional duties are not part of a teacher contract and therefore by negotiation law the compensation for those duties have to be negotiated. We've done it that way forever. I guess there are some places that say if you want to teach for me, you're also the head basketball coach. Well, a teaching contract is separate from a supplemental duty contract, and this is just saying you have to pay separate, and the contracts do not necessarily. You can release a person from one, or they can resign from one without necessarily resigning from their primary teaching contract. IDAE has to do with new changes in the Student Data Privacy Act. Don't anticipate it's going to have any problem. JDC or JCDAA is the student nicotine, much like the staff. Weapons were clarified this year to add a provision for air rifles being allowed on school property when they are part of a air gun-related activity or used by a club for an air gun-related activity, that they can be in a student's car, in possession at the school during the activity, and that's not prohibited. Previously, it was under the weapons policy.
An air gun, does that include a BB gun or like soft projectiles? Does it?
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't read it that well. This one doesn't, the policy doesn't specify.
It will include BB gun. It came out of the Derby School District on a shooting team.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Brett.
Law enforcement, again, the memorandum of understanding with law enforcement, which we're okay on that one. Health screenings, it just specifies that health screenings are required and the districts have to offer them to students. The last one is one we're recommending that you do not adopt. Evidently, KSB's been asked for this one. It's a policy which would prohibit individuals from recording students, employees, or board members surreptitiously or through the use of concealed audio or video. Kansas law right now provides that anybody can record anything as long as one of the parties is aware of the conversation or aware of the recording.
One of the parties?
One of the parties, not both. So this would be a policy that would, they're interpreting it as under Kansas Home Rule Authority. This board could add to that law and say, we're not going to allow it at all. We believe that it just opens a tremendous amount of doors that are going to cause us to be cell phone police and video police. And if a teacher wants to record students doing a project in class, or students want to record another student, any of that kind of stuff would fall under it. We're not having major issues that haven't been able to be dealt with so far about students recording. So we'd recommend we don't prohibit it. That this policy would prohibit it, and would recommend that we don't.
What if, Alan, you had a meeting and you asked that this meeting not be recorded?
They can still record it, but I have the right to say, I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
I have a right to say I will not have a meeting in which I'm recorded. So we've gotten in the habit, most of us have gotten in the habit, if we have a confrontational situation especially, we ask, are you planning to record this meeting? If you ask it, they have to tell you.
What if they do it and they say they're not?
I don't know, are you aware, Brad, whether it's permissible to be used if you've asked and they said they're not, but they do?
It would depend on the circumstance and the situation of how they wanted to use it, but they would run into difficulties at that.
Gets into student and staff confidentiality. If you're talking about students in particular, there'd be some issues, I would think. We've had that happen once in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years that I'm aware of. The person wasn't aware he was being recorded and said some things just to get stuff over with fast that he really didn't mean, but he wanted to get out from under whoever was talking to him. And it got recorded and then it got used. So anyway, would recommend you don't do this. It's going to have more negative impact on us, and we're going to be our principals and teachers will be the cell phone cops and video cops instead of doing what we're hiring to do. Yeah, it looked like you had a question.
I did, but I don't know how I want to phrase it. So in a situation, Jeff and I are going to have a conversation, he can record me without my knowledge, and we don't want to necessarily limit that because it would limit us in other areas.
Kansas law says he can do that now.
He can do that
He
now.
can do that now. So what KSB is saying, if you don't want it to happen, we're going to throw this home rule law out there that says you can supersede or you can exceed the requirements of the state law, which we're just not recommending that you do that.
Because then that would carry over into things within the classroom and such with recording activity.
The statute does make exception for public meetings like this one, for school programs, for performances, those are all accepted from it anyway. But we just think it would be more work than it's worth and cause more difficulty. Besides, many times those recordings work out to our benefit or to the student's benefit. It also exempts like recording in the hallway for security cameras and those kind of things. So anyways, you have a chance to look over this for the next month. We've highlighted and pointed out all the changes. Many of them are just clerical. Take a look at that one in particular on recordings and see if you'd like anything done differently with that. And we'll be ready to bring them back for your approval at the August meeting. Okay?
Thank you. Okay, the next order of business is the appointments and organizational procedures. You all tell me how you want to do it. We can go piece by piece, 1 through 45, or we can do all of them if we like, if we are in agreement that this is how we want to do each of these items, we can approve them all with one motion.
Because there hasn't been any major changes
No.
to anything, correct?
The biggest thing that's changed was meal prices, and you've approved those
I
earlier.
approved it.
What else? We also, yes, we did. We added school counsel, legal counsel, as a deputy board clerk in the event that we have an executive session. That way, our board clerk, who's Mr. Hammond, doesn't have to stick around for that to be over, because usually in an executive session, Brad's around, and we have to have someone at the end of a meeting that can certify that we adjourned and we didn't take any action and all that stuff. So those are the only two. You've already approved the lunch prices anyway.
I would make a motion that we accept the appointments and organizational procedures as recorded in the agenda.
45?
1 through 45.
Alrighty.
Second.
We have a motion by Jeff and a second by Ryan. All in favor? 5-0. All right, and next up, we have the appointments, or the assignments for the Board of Education committees. For Park and Rec, Barbara, are you still wanting to serve on that?
I am.
Okay, so we have Barbara, and then we have, is it Jay that usually is the,
We usually ask for both Jay and now Sean, the
Okay.
two high school activities and athletic directors.
okay. And then Tracy, well, I checked with Tammy, and she said that that board members can serve for 3 years, and Tracy has served 2 years on the Bright Beginnings. When Tracy told me she wasn't going to be at the meeting, I asked her if she was still willing and able to serve on the Bright Beginnings Policy Council, and she said yes, she did want to do that. So I would like to have her serve on the Bright Beginnings. Special education, we need one person and then an alternate. And I believe, Ryan, were you on that? But it's,
Yeah,
but it's
Barb,
hard.
well, no, I mean, in name only.
Right.
Barb attended all of the meetings just due to my schedule. I
Right.
was unable to attend any of the
Right.
meetings, so I still need to take Barb out to lunch for all that. But, so,
Okay, so we need to take Ryan off.
yeah, I won't be able to serve in that capacity.
Is there somebody that's willing, and what it involves is one time
Once
a
a month
month?
on Tuesday from 10 to noon, it's Ensign. It's usually the third Tuesday, I believe. I think that's right, the third Tuesday.
I would do that.
Okay. And we need an alternate. Would you be willing to serve as an alternate, Barb? Sure. Okay. All right, and
I won't
then,
make you go to all the meetings.
Just want to buy you lunch.
Pardon?
You don't want to buy her lunch, I understand.
all
Method
right.
to my madness.
So for legislative, do we have,
Yeah, I'm serving on the KSB Legislative Committee, so I could
Okay.
do that one.
okay, sounds good. And I didn't talk to Tammy about, was she on capital outlay or was she on calendar?
She was on calendar,
She was on,
Tracy was on capital.
Tracy was on calendar.
yeah.
Okay, I think
was on
I would, and it's not my choice, but I would like, maybe Brian would be a good choice for the capital outlay. Okay,
We actually need two people.
and we need
for that.
2 on that. Should we put Tammy, Was Tammy on there last year?
I think so.
I think so. So put her on
Deb's
there.
saying yes.
Okay, so put Tammy and Brian on capital outlay.
That
And-
puts Tracy on the calendar, maybe, or not. Hope we've got everybody, don't we?
Yeah. Is there somebody that wants to be on the calendar committee? If not, we can put Tracy on it since she's not here.
She's been doing it.
Yeah, she's been doing it. All right, so we'll put Tracy on calendar. Okay.
I don't want to live with a teacher. I want being on the calendar.
Okay, so we've got, for number one, Park and Rec, we've got Barbara, and then we've got Jay Gifford and Sean Steiner as, as Jay Gifford as number two, and Sean Steiner as alternate. Then for Bright Beginnings Head Start Policy Council, we have Tracy Rankin. Special Education, we've got Jeff Hires, and then Barb Lundeen as alternate. Legislative, we've got Ryan Osmus. 5, Capital Outlay, we've got Tammy and Brian. And Calendar Committee, we've got Tracy. So this is an action item.
I'll move.
Okay?
Second. Oh,
All right, we've got a motion by Ryan and a second by Barbara. All in favor? 5-0. Okay? And then for the monthly review of bills, each person besides the president takes 2 times a month. If you're not able to do it, then I will step in and look them over in your absence. Is there somebody that would like August and February?
I can do it.
Okay. And September, March?
I'll do that.
Jeff? October and April?
I'll do that.
Okay, Brian? November and May?
I think I'm right now on the January and July
Okay.
one, am I not? And
Well-
then again, June.
Tammy did July, so she must be January, July.
So I must have been December.
December and June?
That's fine.
Is that the one you want? Okay, we'll put Barbara as December and June, and let's put Tracy at November and May, and Tammy January and July. Okay?
Oh, do we need, yeah, second.
Got a motion by Brian and a second by Ryan. All in favor? 5-0. All right, announcements. July 25th, Board of Education work session with KASB consultant Doug Meckel here in the Austin Boardroom at 5:30. August 4th is the enrollment day for all schools from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. August 8th, Board of Education meeting here in the Austin Boardroom at 6 o'clock. August 10th, new teacher orientation and introductions. If you can make it, we'd like all board members there just for 15, 20 minutes for an introduction at 10:30 at the Learning Center. August 15th, all staff breakfast, 7 to 7:45, and the welcome in the auditorium at 8 o'clock. Again, if we could have all board members there, that'd be great. August 17th, first day of classes. Do we have any items for future board meetings or additional information?
Got the iPad update.
And a couple of other things. I just like an overview of special education, how many kids we're serving, how we're working with 613, different, just how our special education program. And then the second thing is our mentoring program. How's that structured? How are we managing it?
We can do that.
I've just had some comments about that I'd just like to know
Okay.
how that is working and the plans for it.
And I have one question for the board regarding that. We had tried to have a couple special meetings scheduled, and at the last meeting, we talked about trying to do them on Saturdays. Saturdays did not work out for any board member. There was not a Saturday between now and the middle of August, so we could get all the board members together. So we do not have anything scheduled. Wondered if there was a possibility of a Monday evening, some other time. Matter of fact, there's you can see it from the list, we've got more red that couldn't be there than we did green that could be there, so wonder what your thoughts are to have an hour or an hour and a half or a couple hours to meet with Bill and I to talk about transition stuff and then an overview of the budget, so you'll have a better understanding of how that works. If we'd like to do it on a Monday, I know we're getting close to the start of school, close to Dodge City Days. So what, you all talk about it, what's your wishes, and we'll see what we can do.
Pretty much open any, except the first of August.
Okay,
Yeah, I can do Mondays.
Yeah, Monday evening.
okay. So, sounds like let's not do the 1st of August.
I just.
Okay.
Yeah, because I won't be available either. I turned 40.
Jeff is older than you are. Oh, it shouldn't be. How old are you?
43.
43.
No, everybody knows.
That's my birthday.
So if we could,
We've either got next Monday, because the following we have with KASB, or we could get into August and
Monday works.
can't do it on the 1st. We have a board meeting on the 8th already. So we could do something on the 15th. We have a board meeting scheduled for the 22nd at lunch already. So we could look at August 15th.
Next week or the 15th, it doesn't matter.
Dodge City Days will be over, and
yeah, let's go for the 15th.
school will be ready to start. We kind of got a busy day that day. That's our welcome back and our big breakfast for everybody and all that. But we could do that and then do that in the evening. Okay? We'll try it for the 15th.
Okay. All right, anything else we need to,
You just need an executive session with Mr. Hammond, Mr. Ralph, Mr. Delzite, and I for probably, I'd say 20 minutes to start with,
okay?
for discussion of acquisition of real property.
Okay. We need a motion.
I move.
Okay, we have a motion by Barbara. And a second by Brian. All in favor? 5-0.
Okay, thank you all.
Everyone.
That went really